On a sunny morning in Sarajevo, the heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie arrived for a state visit. The date was June 28, 1914. The couple was driven through the streets in an open car, unaware of the danger lurking nearby. A group of Serbian nationalists, the Black Hand, saw this as an opportunity to strike a blow for Serbian independence. As the Archduke's car passed, one of the assassins, Gavrilo Princip, seized his moment. He fired 2 shots. The Archduke and his wife were fatally wounded. The assassination sent shockwaves through Europe. Austria-Hungary, outraged, blamed Serbia for the attack and issued an ultimatum with deliberately unacceptable terms. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand was the spark that ignited the powder keg of Europe. A complex web of alliances and treaties drew the great powers into the conflict. Germany, allied with Austria-Hungary, pledged its support. Russia, protector of Serbia, began to mobilize its troops. Within weeks, declarations of war followed, plunging Europe into the abyss of World War I. What began as a regional conflict in the Balkans quickly escalated into a global conflagration. The world watched in horror as the Great War unfolded, a war that would reshape the political and social landscape of the 20th century. Germany, adhering to the Schlieffen Plan, launched a swift attack on France through neutral Belgium. The plan aimed to knock France out of the war quickly before Russia could fully mobilize. German troops swept through Belgium, their advance marked by brutality and destruction. The German invasion of Belgium brought Great Britain into the war. Britain had pledged to protect Belgium's neutrality and declared war on Germany on August 4, 1914. The British Expeditionary Force, though small, was highly trained and well-equipped. They rushed to meet the German advance in Belgium. In the east, Russia mobilized its massive army at a remarkable pace, surprising the Germans. 2 Russian armies invaded East Prussia, intending to relieve pressure on the Western Front. However, the Russians suffered a devastating defeat at the Battle of Tannenberg in late August 1914. The early weeks of the war were marked by rapid movement and fierce fighting. However, the initial German advance stalled at the Marne River in France, setting the stage for a long and bloody stalemate. The Battle of the Marne, fought in September 1914, was a pivotal moment in the early stages of World War I. The German army, having advanced deep into France, was on the verge of capturing Paris. French and British forces, bolstered by reinforcements, rushed from Paris in taxicabs, launched a desperate counterattack. The fighting along the Marne River was fierce and chaotic. Both sides suffered heavy casualties, but the German advance was finally halted. The Battle of the Marne marked the end of Germany's hopes for a quick victory in the West. It also shattered the illusion of a short and glorious war. With the German advance checked, the Western Front solidified into a line of trenches stretching from the Swiss border to the English Channel. The war of movement was over. A new and terrible phase of the war was about to begin: trench warfare. Trenches became the defining feature of the Western Front. Soldiers on both sides dug in, creating elaborate systems of trenches, dugouts, and barbed wire entanglements. Life in the trenches was a miserable existence. Soldiers endured constant shelling, machine gun fire, and the ever-present threat of sniper attacks. Disease was rampant and rats infested the trenches. The psychological toll of trench warfare was immense. Soldiers suffered from shell shock, a debilitating condition caused by the constant bombardment and the horrors of war. Despite the appalling conditions, soldiers on both sides displayed remarkable courage and resilience. They endured the horrors of trench warfare for months, even years on end. In February 1916, Germany launched a massive offensive at Verdun, a fortress city in northeastern France. The German strategy was to bleed France white by inflicting unsustainable casualties. The Battle of Verdun became one of the longest and bloodiest battles in history. For months, French and German soldiers clashed in a relentless battle of attrition. Artillery fire rained down on the battlefield, turning the landscape into a desolate wasteland. The fighting at Verdun was characterized by its sheer brutality and the immense loss of life. By the time the battle ended in December 1916, over 700,000 men had been killed or wounded. Verdun became a symbol of the horrors of trench warfare and the futility of the conflict. Section 6. Empires on the brink, Gallipoli and the Ottoman front. While the Western Front was locked in a bloody stalemate, the war raged on in other theatres. In 1915, the Allies launched a campaign in the Dardanelles, a narrow strait in the Ottoman Empire. The goal was to capture Constantinople, the Ottoman capital, and knock the Ottoman Empire out of the war. The Gallipoli campaign, also known as the Dardanelles campaign, was a disaster for the Allies. The landings were poorly planned and met with fierce resistance from the Ottoman defenders. The terrain was rugged and the Ottoman troops, led by the brilliant commander Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, fought tenaciously. The Allies were pinned down on the beaches, unable to advance. After months of fighting and heavy casualties, the Allies were forced to evacuate. The Gallipoli campaign was a costly failure and a testament to the resilience of the Ottoman Empire. Section 7. New horrors, technology and total war. World War I witnessed the advent of new and deadly technologies that transformed warfare. Machine guns, artillery, poison gas and tanks were unleashed on a scale never seen before. These technological advancements led to unprecedented levels of carnage and destruction. Machine guns could fire hundreds of rounds per minute, mowing down attacking infantry with ease. Artillery barrages could reduce entire landscapes to rubble. Poison gas, first used by the Germans in 1915, added a new dimension of horror to the battlefield. The war also saw the rise of air power. Airplanes, initially used for reconnaissance, were soon armed with machine guns and bombs. Dogfights between fighter planes became a common sight in the skies over the Western Front. The use of these new technologies blurred the lines between combatants and civilians. Civilians were increasingly caught in the crossfire, and entire cities were reduced to rubble. World War I became a total war, with all aspects of society mobilized for the war effort. Section 8. The World Remade, the Armistice and the Treaty of Versailles. By 1918, after more than 4 years of devastating warfare, both sides were exhausted. The entry of the United States into the war in April 1917 tipped the balance in favor of the Allies. With fresh troops and resources, the Allies launched a series of offensives that finally broke the stalemate on the Western Front. On November 11, 1918, an armistice was signed, ending the fighting. The world rejoiced at the news, but the cost of victory was staggering. Millions lay dead and Europe was in ruins. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, officially ended the war but sowed the seeds for future conflicts. Section 9. A World Forever Changed. The First World War was a watershed moment in human history. It shattered empires, redrew the map of Europe, and left an enduring legacy of trauma and loss. The war had a profound impact on the course of the 20th century. It led to the rise of totalitarian regimes in Germany, Italy, and Russia. The war also accelerated the decline of European dominance and the rise of the United States as a global power. The First World War was a tragedy on an unprecedented scale. It serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of conflict and the importance of diplomacy and understanding in international relations.